Sir, this is T. Kushi from ITA, and my roll number is 37. And my topic for SPM for the Tech Talk is Classification of Software Project Risk Managers established on roles and responsibilities. So, coming to the introduction. Risk is uncertain events associated with future events, which may have a probability of occurrence, but it may or may not occur. And if it occurs, it brings loss to the project. So, what is risk? It is an uncertain event which may occur now or it may occur in future. So, due to which you may face some loss in your project. So, that is nothing but a risk. So, risk identification and management are very important tasks during software project development because success and failure of any project depends on it. So, risk plays a crucial role in software project development as it depends on risk whether your project is being successful or not. So, project risk management involves identifying, accessing, and mitigating potential threats and opportunities that could affect a project's objectives. It aims to proactively address uncertainties to minimize negative impacts on project success while maximizing positive outcomes. Key steps include risk identification, risk analysis, response planning, and monitoring throughout the project lifecycle to ensure timely and effective risk management. So let us see how we will manage the risk. So risk management process. Software project risk managers are professionals responsible for identifying, analyzing, and managing risks specific to software development projects. Their role involves risk identification, risk analysis, risk mitigation planning, risk monitor and control, communication and collaboration, documentation and reporting. Let us know about individual things in a detailed way. So, risk identification involves identifying potential risks that could impact project objectives, including technical risks, scheduling risks, resource allocation problems, and external risks. Next, after identifying the risk, you have to analyze them. So, accessing the likelihood and impact of identified risks on their project, consider their probability and potential consequences. So, due to risk, what is the probability that the project may fail, and what are the consequences that we can take to come over this risk and all comes under risk analysis. Next is risk mitigation planning. So developing strategies to mitigate or avoid identified risks, which may include contingency plans, risk transfer, or risk acceptance. Next, risk monitoring and control. So monitoring the project's risk landscape throughout its life cycle, like tracking identified risks and implementing corrective actions as necessary. So on your complete project development life cycle at equal intervals of time, you have to monitor the risks and you have to correct them so that there will be no problem in your project. Next is communication and collaboration. So collaboration with project stakeholders, including developers, project managers, clients, to ensure awareness of risks and alignment on mitigation strategies. Next is documentation and reporting. So maintaining comprehensive documentation of identified risks, its mitigation plans and monitoring activities, and providing regular updates to the project stakeholders. So with the help of this documentation and reporting, so you'll have a proper way and there will be no conflicts between the project developer and the client. So everything goes in a smoother way in a hand by hand. So the risk management process is a flowchart. First, you will identify the risk, that is list of potential risks, then risk analysis, that is prioritize the risk list, then risk planning. So how do you avoid the risk and what are the plans that you need to take? And then risk monitoring, that is risk assessment. After risk monitoring, again, it will go back to risk analysis. So this cycle will be continuing until the project is delivered correctly without any risks. So there are many types of risks. One is schedule risks. So delays in task completion, missed deadlines or dependencies or other external factors affecting the project timeline. So these are called as schedule risks. When you're not able to deliver the project within the deadline. So within the scheduled time, you're unable to deliver the project. So that is called as schedule risk. Next is resource risk. So coming to resource risks, insufficient budget, you don't have sufficient budget, you don't have proper materials, you don't have manpower, and you are not clear about the project. So that are called as resource risks. Next is technical risks. So challenges related to technology, tools, or infrastructure may cause system failures, due to which you cannot deliver the project in time. Next is quality risks. So defects, errors, and inadequate testing affecting the quality of deliverables. Next is financial risks. So you don't have proper budget overruns, currency fluctuations, or unexpected expenses impacting the project finances. Next is communication risks. So poor communication among the stakeholders or team members leading to the misunderstandings or delays. So these are some types of risks that you might face when you are developing a software project. So there are many types of risks as we have seen before, but they are basically classified into two types: internal risks and external risks. So in internal risks, financial risks, operational risks, and technology risks comes under internal risks. Coming to economic risks, environmental risks, legal, political, market, and social risks. These are all external risks. So how do you analyze these risks? Access probability and seriousness of each risk is to be noted. Probability may be very low, moderate, high, or very high. You have to know this. And risk effects might be catastrophic, serious, tolerate, or insignificant. So based on all these parameters, you will analyze a risk. So first is that risk analysis one. Organizational financial problems force reduction in the project budget. So probability is low and effect is catastrophic. This is one of the example. It is impossible to recruit staff with skills required for the project. So this kind of risk is high and effect is catastrophic. Next, key staff are ill at critical times in the project, moderate, and the effect is serious. Next, changes in requirements that require major design rework or proposed, moderate, but the effect is serious. So this is one of the example of risk analysis. So what is the probability and what is the effect? So in risk analysis, then two major parameters are the probability and what is the effect that is being happened on your software project development. Other one is about the database. The database used in the project cannot process as many transactions per second as expected. So the probability is moderate, but the effect of this probability is very serious. The time required to develop software is underestimated. Probability is high and the effect is also serious. Customers fail to understand the impact of requirements change. Probability is moderate and effects are tolerable. Next is required training for staff is not available. Probability is moderate and effects are also tolerable. The size of software is underestimated. The probability is high and the effects are tolerable. So this is how you analyze the risk. Then coming to risk planning step. So consider each risk and develop a strategy to manage that risk. So you will consider each and every risk after analysis. And based on that risk, you will develop a strategy how to manage that particular risk. The three common strategies that are used is avoidance strategies, minimization strategies, contingency plans. So in avoidance strategies, the probability that the risk will arise is reduced. Minimizing strategies, the impact of the risk on the project or product will be reduced. Contingency plans. If the risk arises, contingency plans are plans to deal with that risk. So if the risk arises, then how will you deal with it? That comes under contingency plans. Next is risk management. How do you manage these risks? For suppose it is an organization or financial risk. You will have a particular strategy that preparing a brief document for senior management showing how project is making a very important contribution to goals of the business and alerting the customers, then staff illness, then defective components. So you for each and every risk, you will have a different strategy. So for organizational risk, you will brief a document. For requirement problems, you'll alert customers about the difficulties that may delay or buying in components. For staff illness, recognize teams so that there is more overlap of work and people therefore understand each other jobs. Defective components, replace potential defective components with bought-in components of known probability. Requirement changes. Whatever the requirements are changing, list the informations on requirements change. What is the impact? What maximized information is hiding in the design? Next, organizational restructuring, database performance. Investigate the possibility of higher performance in the database. Underestimated development. So investigate buying in components, investigate use of program, generator, and all. So these are some of the ways how you analyze. So initially risk analysis, then risk planning, then risk management. How do you manage? So for each and every risk, there will be a particular strategy. So depending on the type of risk, you will have a strategy. Next is risk monitoring. Access each identified risks regularly to decide whether or not it is becoming less or more probable. Also access whether the effects of the risk have changed. Each key risk should be discussed at management process meetings. So after risk management, the fourth one is risk monitoring, as you all know. So each key risk should be discussed at management progress meeting and they have to be monitored. After risk monitoring, it is risk indicators. So there are different types of risk indicators. One is technology. Late delivery of hardware or software may be reported as technological problems. People, poor staff, poor relationship amongst team members and all. Next, organizational gossip, lack of attention by senior management. Next, coming to tools, reluctance by team members to use tools, complaint about case tools, demands for higher powered workstations. Next is requirements. Many requirements change requests, customer complaints. Next is estimation, failure to meet agreed schedule, failure to clear report defects. So, what are the main roles and responsibilities of a project manager? So, first is that for a project manager, overall responsibility for project success. His main role is to look at the overall responsibility for the project success. So, what are the responsibilities he have to see? Identifying and accessing project risks, allocating resources for risk management activities, overseeing risk mitigation strategies, communication risks to stakeholders. Next is risk analysis. So here the role is specialized focus on risks. So this person is completely focused on risks. So what are the responsibilities he will carry out is conducting comprehensive risk assessments, identifying potential risks and their impact, quantifying risks and prioritizing them from mitigation. Next is risk coordinator. So coordinator risk management efforts. So their responsibilities are developing risk management plans, tracking and monitoring risks throughout the project lifecycle, coordinating risk response actions among various stakeholders. Next is technical risk manager. So his role is to address technical aspects of risk. So what are his responsibilities? Identifying technical risks associated with the software development, evaluating the impact of technical decisions on project risks, advising on technical risk mitigation strategies. These are his responsibilities that he has to carry. Next is quality assurance, that is quality assurance manager. So ensuring software quality and risk mitigation. So he has to ensure that the software that is being delivered is of good quality. So what are the responsibilities? Identifying risks related to the software quality, establishing QA processes to mitigate risks, that is quality assurance processes, monitoring adherence to quality standards, implementing corrective actions for quality related risks. Next is stakeholder management, engagement manager. So, managing stakeholder involvement in risk management. What are his responsibilities? Managing stakeholders, engaging them in risk identification and assessment, communication risk information effectively, incorporating stakeholders' feedback into risk mitigation plans. So, before coming to the conclusion, let us get an overall look once again. Uh, so, So, as you all know, what is a risk? Risk is nothing but an uncertain event or activity that may affect your software project management. It may lead to the loss of the project also. So, due to this, risk identification is important. And for risk assessment or risk management, it involves some of these steps. One is risk identifying, accessing, and mitigation. So there are some of the key steps that involves in risk management. One is risk identification, one is risk analysis, one is risk mitigation planning, one is risk monitoring and controlling, communication and collaboration, documentation and reporting. So this is the flow chart which will tell how the risk management process will take place. So there are different types of risk: schedule risks, resource risks, technical risks, quality risks, financial risks, and communication risks. But basically, they're divided into internal risks and external risks, as you can see in the picture. Internal risks include financial, operational, and technological risks, and external risks include economic, environmental, legal, political, market, and social risks. So generally, risk analysis is based on few parameters like how serious is the risk, whether it is whether the two parameters. One is the probability and one is the effect. So coming to probability, whether it is very low, low, moderate, high, or very high. Coming to the effect, whether it is catastrophic, serious, tolerate, or insignificant. So based on these parameters, you will analyze the risk. These are some of the examples. After risk analysis, it comes under risk planning. So it involves three common strategies. One is avoidance strategies, one is minimization strategies, and one is contingency plans. So every risk will have its own strategy to manage. So according to the risk, you will have a particular strategy to overcome that risk. So these are some of the examples which we have already seen. Next is risk monitoring. So risk monitoring, after once you have identified the risk, you have to always monitor that risk so that it will not affect the project once again. You will have different types of risk indicators like technology risks, people risks, organizational risks, requirements, estimations, and all. So there are different roles and matter. So project manager will have specific roles. Risk analyst should have specific roles. Risk coordinator, technical risk manager, quality assurance manager, stakeholder manager. So each and every one will play their role and will finish their responsibility so that risks are managed properly and they're treated properly so that our project will be successful and it will come to the market without any problem. So coming to the conclusion, the classification of software project risk managers based on their roles and responsibilities is crucial for ensuring effective risk management throughout the project lifecycle. So each role from the project manager to the stakeholder engagement manager plays a specific and essential part in identifying, accessing, and mitigating risks. Collaboration, communication, and coordination among these roles are paramount for successful risk management in software projects. So, by leveraging the expertises of each role and working together cohesively, project teams can develop comprehensive risk mitigation strategies that contribute to the overall success of the project. So, for a project to be successful, so every role and every person's responsibility plays a crucial role in risk management in every part of the project's life cycle. So, each role from the project manager to the stakeholder engagement plays a crucial role in developing and delivering a project which is free of risks and it leads to the project success. So from this we can understand that the people involved in project planning from the stakeholder to the developer, everybody plays a crucial role and they have their own roles and responsibilities to meet the success of the project. Thank you.